Plenty of cars visit the Nürburgring. Very few survive it. But one car didn't just survive the most brutal track on Earth. It treated it like home. And that car wasn't supposed to exist. The track that exposes lies. The Nürburgring doesn't care about hype. It doesn't care about marketing videos or spec sheets or social media praise. It punishes weight. It exposes bad engineering. It turns small mistakes into massive consequences. This is the track where great cars are humbled and fast cars fall apart after a few laps. Most manufacturers use the Nürburgring as a benchmark. Mercedes used it as a requirement, because when AMG set out to build the One, the goal wasn't to chase a lap time. The goal was to build a car that could withstand the Nürburgring repeatedly, legally, and predictably, without turning into a fragile science experiment. That mindset alone separates the AMG One from almost every hypercar before it. This was never meant to be a normal hypercar. The Mercedes-AMG One didn't start as a road car. It started as a question. What happens if you take modern Formula One technology and refuse to water it down for comfort, convenience, or mass appeal? What happens if you stop asking what drivers want and start asking what physics demands? Most hypercars are road cars pushed toward the track. The AMG One is a race car dragged into the real world. Everything about it is backwards compared to tradition. The engine, the hybrid system, the driving position, even the way the car breathes air. This isn't a car designed to impress you at a stoplight. It's designed to operate at the edge, lap after lap, where other cars start overheating, fading, or falling apart. That's why people weren't ready for it, and neither was the Nürburgring. Why Mercedes took the hardest path. Mercedes could have built a monster V12. They could have chased easy horsepower. They could have softened the car and made it livable. Instead, they chose the hardest possible route. A real Formula One-derived hybrid powertrain, adapted for the street, not simulated, not inspired by, but genuinely rooted in racing architecture. That decision came with massive challenges: heat management, reliability, drivability, emissions, noise regulations, things race teams don't worry about nearly as much. And yet Mercedes refused to compromise the core idea. If this car was going to wear the AMG badge, it had to represent the absolute peak of not the brand knows how to do. The Nürburgring wasn't just a place to prove speed, it was a place to prove the concept itself. So here's the real question. What happens when a car is built not to impress drivers, but to dominate the most unforgiving track on the planet? Because next, we're opening the heart of the AMG One. And once you understand its powertrain, everything else starts to make sense. At the center of the Mercedes-AMG One is an engine that most engineers would have said was impossible to put into a road car. Not impractical, not difficult, impossible. A modern Formula One-derived 1.6-liter V6 hybrid system was never designed to idle at traffic lights, pass emissions regulations, or survive daily use. It was built to run flat out on a racetrack, rebuilt regularly, and pushed to its limits without compromise. And yet, Mercedes insisted on bringing that exact philosophy to the street. This engine isn't just inspired by Formula One. It comes directly from the same architectural thinking used in Mercedes' championship-winning F1 cars. High revving, extreme efficiency, paired with electric motor generator units that don't just add power, but actively shape how torque is delivered at every moment. Instead of relying on brute force, the AMG One's powertrain fills every gap in the power band, smoothing acceleration in a way no traditional internal combustion engine ever could. On the Nürburgring, where corners arrive unpredictably and grip changes constantly, that instant controlled response is everything. What makes this powertrain so devastating on the ring isn't just output, it's balance. The hybrid system allows power to be deployed with surgical precision. Coming out of slow corners, electric torque eliminates hesitation. At high speed, the combustion engine takes over seamlessly, pulling the car forward with relentless intensity. There's no lag, no waiting, no dramatic spikes that unsettle the chassis. Everything feels intentional, like the car is always one step ahead of the driver. This matters more at the Nürburgring than almost anywhere else in the world. The track isn't smooth, it isn't predictable. It demands constant adjustments, and the AMG One's powertrain responds instantly. Where other hypercars feel violent or overwhelming, this one feels controlled, composed, and deeply connected to the surface beneath it. You're not fighting the engine, you're working with it. Then there's heat, the silent enemy of performance. Most road cars struggle after a few hard laps. Power fades, temperatures climb, systems begin to pull back to protect themselves. Mercedes knew that wouldn't survive the Nürburgring. So they treated heat management as a core design principle, not an afterthought. Massive cooling systems, advanced thermal management strategies, and race-grade engineering keep the AMG ONE operating at peak performance where others start to retreat. This is why the car doesn't just set fast laps, it repeats them, again and again. Consistency is the real flex here. Anyone can build a car that's fast once. Mercedes built one that stays fast. This engine is not friendly, it's not forgiving, and it wasn't meant to be. It's a mechanical declaration that the AMG ONE exists for one purpose: performance without excuses. On the Nürburgring, that purpose becomes obvious. Every corner, every straight, every elevation change feels like it was written into the car's DNA long before it ever touched the track. And once you understand the engine, the rest of the car starts to make sense. Because next, we're talking about aerodynamics and how Mercedes turned air into grip in ways most hypercars can't even approach. Power alone doesn't win at the Nürburgring. If it did, the fastest car would always be the one with the biggest engine. But the ring doesn't reward brute force. It rewards control, stability, confidence at speed. And this is where the Mercedes-AMG ONE becomes genuinely terrifying, because its aerodynamics don't behave like those of a road car. They behave like a prototype race machine that just happens to wear license plates. Most hypercars rely on fixed wings and dramatic shapes to generate downforce. The AMG ONE goes far beyond that. Its entire body actively manages airflow in real time. Flaps move, elements adjust. The car constantly reshapes itself depending on speed, braking, and cornering forces. At low speeds, it stays manageable. At high speeds, it locks itself to the road like it's being pulled downward by gravity itself. On the Nürburgring, where speeds change constantly and corners come without warning, that adaptability is everything. As speed increases, the AMG ONE doesn't just cut through the air, it uses it. Air is channeled through the body, over it, under it, and out the back in a carefully controlled stream that creates downforce without killing straight-line speed. The underbody works like a giant vacuum, pressing the car into the track surface. This means grip doesn't suddenly appear or disappear. It builds progressively, predictably, giving the driver confidence to push harder without crossing the line into chaos. That's why high-speed sections of the ring don't feel dangerous in this car. They feel stable, calm, almost unnatural. Where other hypercars start to feel light or nervous as speeds climb, the AMG ONE feels planted, as if the track itself is pulling it forward. This isn't designed for drama, it's designed for domination. The brilliance of the AMG ONE's aerodynamics is how invisible they feel from behind the wheel. You're not fighting sudden grip changes. You're not correcting unexpected slides. The car simply goes where you point it, even through sections of the Nürburgring that normally demand full commitment and absolute trust. Corners that punish hesitation suddenly feel approachable. Braking zones feel shorter. Direction changes feel sharper without being violent. That's because downforce isn't just about cornering speed. It's about braking stability. It's about keeping the tires loaded evenly. It's about letting the suspension and tires do their job without being overwhelmed. Mercedes understood that the Nürburgring would expose any weakness here instantly, so they overbuilt this system until weakness stopped being an option. Most hypercars chase lap times with raw aggression. The AMG ONE doesn't with precision. It doesn't scare you into submission, it invites you to trust it. And once that trust is established, the car feels unstoppable. That's why the Nürburgring isn't just a fast track for this car. It's the environment it was built for. The engine delivers controlled chaos. The aerodynamics turn that chaos into grip. And now, everything comes together. Because next, we're talking about the one thing that ties power and downforce into a single weapon: the chassis and the software that control it all. The Mercedes-AMG ONE doesn't own the Nürburgring because it's loud or dramatic. It owns it because every system speaks the same language. The engine delivers precision, the aerodynamics create confidence, and the software keeps everything balanced right at the edge. Nothing fights, nothing panics. The car simply does what it was built to do. This isn't a hypercar chasing a lap time. It's a Formula One philosophy given license plates. So here's the real question. Would you trust yourself to push this car at the Nürburgring's limit, knowing it was built for that exact moment? If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like and subscribe for more deep dives into cars that redefine what's possible.